name's Asia, and today we're going to be talking to you about why textbooks are too damn expensive. So going into our executive summary, so we decided to cover in our paper and our presentation why textbooks are too expensive. Textbooks are too expensive for many different reasons, and we decided to, instead of try to cover all the different reasons, pick 3 and really go in depth with them. So the 3 topics and reasons that we'll be covering why textbooks are too expensive are, the first one being high publishing and copyright costs, which William will be talking about that. Technology, specifically with access codes, will be our second topic, which Nayeli will be talking about. And then the third topic is the disconnect between professors and the textbooks they are using, which Ren will be covering that topic. So like I said earlier, we decided to just pick these 3 topics because we didn't want to choose too many all at once. We really just wanted to go in depth with these 3. So speaking of which, I'm going to pass it off to Mitch, and he'll be talking about the introduction.
Hello, my name is Mitchell, and today my group members and I will be talking to you about our collective findings pertaining to the topic of why textbooks are too damn expensive. All the information you're about to hear supports our idea that textbooks are indeed too damn expensive, and that our community and society should build momentum behind making universities responsible for the financial burden being put upon students. It is our belief that by relieving this burden, students can find a better quality of life cohesive to students that are successful in their education. Now I'll be passing it off to Rachel and William to talk to you about the economics of textbooks and how that relates to the excessive pricing.
Thank you, Mitch. So like Mitch said, me and William will be talking about what actually makes textbooks expensive. Right now, textbook costs have risen 4 times faster than inflation has, which is pretty insane if you would compare that to your daily cup of coffee. So, this rising cost has led to 65% of students skipping out on buying their required textbooks for classes in order to save money for the rest of their schooling, including tuition and supplies. One of the reasons why the costs have risen so quickly and so exponentially is because textbooks don't operate in the same market structure that everything else usually does. Instead, they operate in more of a monopolized structure. So, normally, market structure starts with buyers and sellers operating together to find a balance in the price. So, the buyers will go and buy from the sellers who they deem their price fair. This means that the high prices and low prices will come together and create a price equilibrium. That way, the buyers are happy with their price and they think it's fair, and the sellers are still making a profit that's fair and even. So, textbooks do not operate in this way. So, the buyers are the students, and instead of them having the freedom to pick which sellers they want to go to, they are told what to buy. So the students go and have to buy it from a bookstore, and they don't have that much choice. So actually 5% of the publishers own 80% of the market. So even if you were looking for a textbook, you really only have one choice and it's required for one class. This means that because the market is almost monopolized by publishers and the buyers or the students have no option or no say in what they're spending their money on, publishers or sellers can then keep their prices sky high, which in turn brings the burden on the students and the profits to the publishers. And now William will explain a little bit about the copyright that goes into textbooks and why that keeps the cost high for them.
Thank you, Rachel. My name is William, and I will be talking to you about textbook copyright. One of the main reasons that the price of textbooks is so high is because academic publishers pay various copyright fees to produce textbooks. During high school, textbooks were provided by the school district on taxpaying dollars. However, this is not the case for college students who must pay for them on their dime at twice the value. Publishers of large anthologies of recent writings need to pay copyright fees to every author included within the book. A poetry anthology for a literature class, for example, may involve clearing hundreds of copyrights. U.S. copyright laws for college textbooks give authors the right to release their original works to be distributed and duplicated for a certain amount of years, and these exclusive rights are limited by the public interest in ensuring materials can be freely reproduced in an educational context. Publishing companies must follow these copyright laws and pay fees to every author included within textbooks, as failure to do so can result in statutory damages for infringement. Academic publishers have stated that the process of creating textbooks is so expensive and a labor-intensive process that they must charge a higher price in order to make investment, as there is not that much of a demand for those textbooks and what makes them so expensive. And now I pass it off to Nayeli.
Hello, my name is Nayeli, and I will be talking to you guys about technology and textbooks. So textbooks used to be about renting them from the library and borrowing them from a friend or reusing them. And these days, technology has improved every single year, and the new thing that many colleges are using is a thing called access codes. And an access code can be purchased at the bookstore, and it cannot be purchased anywhere else because it is a code that needs to be scratched off. And the access code at the bookstore comes in a bundle, and it is a loose leaf book, and it also comes with an access code and can be purchased at the bookstore, and it also can be purchased just the single code without the book, but it is around the same price and only a few dollars less. And the only disadvantage of the textbooks and access codes is they cannot be resold and can only be used for the class that term. And it cannot be resold, and it cannot be used with a friend, or cannot be rented out or anything. It has to be bought at the bookstore. And everyone in the class has to have an access code, and they cannot pass the class if they don't have an access code, because an access code is used to do homework assignments, quizzes, and study guides and other different things that the professor posts on there. And then I will be passing it off to Ren to talk to you guys about professors.
Thank you, Nayeli. So this is Ren. Now I'm going to talk about professors' perspective based on the research. So since professors are in charge of selecting textbook, their textbook choices determine how much students have to pay for. However, according to the research group of Southwestern Oklahoma University, professors are unlikely to be supportive or even unaware of the reality of cost rises. So here's what they did. The research group of Southwestern Oklahoma University conducted a large scale of internet survey. The survey was made up of some questions related to the textbook issues using 5-point rating scale to measure faculty reaction of 300 professors who were randomly selected from the universities throughout the U.S. The research group also found out there's a publisher's strategies that has a great influence on professors' textbook choices. Therefore, they classify the questions into two categories. One is publisher's strategies, and the other one is non-publisher action, which is like university's policy that controls the textbook prices. So here's the example of the result. These are the categories, and participants have to choose a number from 1 to 5. 1 is strongly agree, and 5 is the opposite. And here's the mean of the result. From the categories not directly involving publisher strategies, the study found most professors value academic freedom and sufficiency of content more than the cost of the textbook. For example, the result showed professors' tendency of rejecting the use of the lowest cost book regarding the sufficiency of content. The majority also disliked the idea of the idea of universities requiring them to stay with a textbook for at least 3 years. And they also disliked the concept of No, they are also unlikely to accept that multiple courses use the same textbook. In looking at the publisher's role in rising prices, professors are less comfortable giving up publishers' control over their own practices. For example, the majority prefers a partial copy as a sample rather than an entire copy of the textbook, which helps publishers to save the cost of printing. And they are also unlikely to approve the practice of a 30-day review period for requesters, where they are later invoiced for the cost of the textbook. They also dislike the concept of a single exam copy for each department because it may require a longer time frame for reviewing the textbook and making adoptions. So these publishers' strategies are obviously more convenient and more beneficial for publishers. However, at the same time, it becomes more difficult for professors to make textbook choices considering the cost factor for their primary constituent, which is student. So now I'm gonna pass to Rich. He's gonna talk about call to action.
So the question becomes, what can we do about the excessive price of textbooks? As you can tell, this problem has technological, social, and economic aspects that make it a really tough problem to tackle. Influential groups are already coming together to form momentum that helps students stand up against powerful institutions such as universities that enforce expensive prices of textbooks on students. Textbook affordability councils are already being formed around the country, and other groups and support like this is needed for building momentum that persuades the general population that universities should be responsible for supplying textbooks to their students. Universities have what it takes to help us make this social change, and we should make them responsible for the excessive price by having them supply textbooks to students year after year instead of making them spend an excess amount of money on textbooks semester after semester. I'll now be passing it off to Asia to talk to you a little bit about the conclusion of our presentation.
Alright, so in conclusion, textbooks are too expensive. We covered a few topics on why they're expensive in this presentation, those topics being due to fees, technology, and professors not getting to always choose the textbooks that they want to use for their classes. Colleges, like we've stated before, colleges should help students out by purchasing textbooks for them, and so it helps with lowering the cost, and it makes it so students don't have to buy a new textbook every single time. They can just reuse the textbook that other students use, and it just, like we explained before, just makes it cheaper. College is super expensive for many different reasons, not having to do a textbook, like tuition, housing, other supplies other than textbooks. There's just a lot of fees and barriers to get to college and to be in college, and if we were able to really eliminate the costs, high cost of textbooks, it would really help eliminate like one of those barriers for college and make it more accessible. Thank you.